I have to get my pointer out again. Okay, so tomorrow is the last day to send your pictures in, unless you've already sent one to me and it's not clear enough, and you need to send another one, that's fine. But so send in your pictures for not next week's class, but the class after that, when we do more consultations. Today, we're going to talk about the autonomic nerve wreath. Everyone knows zone 1 and 2 and then the rest of it. The autonomic nerve wreath is this yellow thing that's between the intestines and the rest of the body. And a couple cool things. If you see anything going past the autonomic nerve wreath, like darkness, the bowel is toxic and you see it bleaching out past the autonomic nerve wreath, that means the toxins are actually leaving the intestines and are getting within the body. They call the autonomic nerve wreath in IPA, they call it the collarette. And basically this is what it looks like. Do you see this very defined line that goes around? I mean, there's a couple places where it's weak. Y'all see that? That's the autonomic nerve wreath. It should be about 1/3 of the way out between the pupil and the white of the eye. This one is much too close, and if you look at it, it's quite thin. What I would like to see it look like is about right here. And this is thinner than it should be. So this means that the intestines are really tight. And it's thin, so it means it's not as healthy as what it should be. Now this is the true brown eye. Look at this autonomic nerve wreath. You are seeing a rarity. I guess you can see it even better in this eye. You see it? Victoria, have you ever seen such a nice autonomic nerve wreath in a brown eye?
I have, but it's extremely rare.
Yeah.
But normally, no.
Right. So a lot of people say, no, there isn't any, because I've had people argue saying that you don't see the autonomic nerve wreath in a true brown eye, but this shows you here that you do.
That's a nice one.
It is. It is.
So, Mary, I was just curious.
Uh-huh.
Is there yeast in there?
There is.
I could almost see a stomach ring.
Yeah, there's yeast too.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I didn't bring that out because we haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
But it was this ropey thing right here that I was talking about.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So that ropey thing that you see, it looks like a piece of yarn that they glued to the inside of your iris or on the iris, indicates how thick the coating is on your nerve. So if you have a nice healthy coating, you'll have something that looks like this. Oops, going in the wrong direction. If you have a very, very thin coating, then you'll have something that you can barely see where it's at. And I'll show you some examples of that later on. The fatty coating that's on the nerve, the myelin sheathing, protects it, much like a copper wire is protected by plastic coating. It also helps prevent it from shortening out, because what goes through the autonomic nervous system, besides chemicals, and this is where the chemicals are being released, is electricity. You conduct electricity. When I was a kid, we used to be really stupid kids. And we grew up in the summertime on a farm. And if there was like 5 or 6 of you guys holding hands, and one person would hold on to electric fence, the electricity would go the whole way through 5 of us, and only the last person would get shocked because we conducted electricity. And this is electrical impulses that actually go through the body. This myelin does a lot of things, and noticing how thick it is very important. It tells you whether or not your nerve is vulnerable to viruses or bacteria. If it is, you could end up with something like Bell's palsy or shingles. Someone who has a nice, healthy nervous system, myelin sheathing, if they have the chickenpox virus in them, nothing will ever happen to them. If they're average, maybe they won't get it. But if they're under stress, then the myelin will get a little bit thinner, enough that the virus will attack it. And oftentimes people will get shingles right after a time that they had some kind of stress in their life, because the stress will thin the myelin enough that the virus can get to the nerve itself. So anyone who's come to you and has had shingles or Bell's palsy, they have a thin myelin. If you build that up, they'll never get it again. I've known people that have had shingles and Bell's palsy over and over and over again. They build up the myelin and they never get it anymore. Another thing that the myelin sheathing does is it protects you from sound. Regrettably, when my kids grew up, I was very sensitive to sound. Noises would get on my nerves easily. I tried to control it, of course, and I didn't scream and yell like an idiot, but I couldn't wait sometimes till they go to sleep because I just needed the quiet. Well, now that my myelin is healthier, and it's not completely healthy, but it's a lot healthier, it's rare that even all 5 of my grandkids goofing around bothers me because my myelin is thicker. Another thing that can happen is it squelches out. This is a CB radio, and I use this analogy because this is what it really reminds me of. If you turn on a CB radio, for anyone who ever used a CB radio, there's a lot of background noises, and you can't really hear what it is who you're trying to talk to. Okay, lock the door then. Sorry. I guess we bored him. He left. But there's a squelch button, and the squelch button would clean out all the background noise so you didn't pay attention to it. It would filter it all out. And that's what the myelin sheathing does, is it filters out sound. So noise and commotion don't get on my nerves near like it used to. So if you know anyone who says that noise, sound, and commotion get on their nerves, they probably have a thin myelin. And we really get into this next week. If this interests you or this sounds like you, then you might want to take the class next week. Another thing is the thicker the myelin is, the more it can release neurotransmitters, like serotonin. Without serotonin, you can develop depression, anxiety, or like obsessive compulsive disorder. With thyroid, you can be bipolar or have Parkinson's. Multiple sclerosis is the myelin sheathing condition. All the things can happen when the myelin is too thin. It also cannot release enough of these chemicals. As I said, you can end up with depression and things like that. All right, so this is what happens whenever the brain thinks that it's going to lock a door. The brain will release chemicals that stand for lock the door. It's a mixture of chemicals. This nerve ganglia will suck it up, translate it into electrical impulse. It'll go to the end of this ganglia and it'll release the exact same chemicals. This one sucks it up, translates it into the exact same electrical impulse, and it releases this kind of chemical. This one does the same thing until you finally lock the door. On the way back from locking the door, you have the same chemical electrical impulses until the brain says, okay, the door's been locked. And you go on your merry way and you do something else. If your brain says to lock the door and you lock the door, but your myelin is thin, it can't release the exact same amount of chemicals. So you may lock the door and it doesn't work. So the brain says lock the door. So you do it again and again and again until the brain finally gets a message that the door has been locked. And then you can just let it go. Does everybody understand the analogy? Sorry for the lines. My mouse is acting up again.
I say yes.
Okay, good. So remember, this is where it is between the bowel and the rest of the body. And this is a really good autonomic nerve wreath. But if you notice, there's a weakness right here. This is, oops, a right eye. So that's right in the neck area. So this person has a healthy myelin, but they probably have a pinched nerve in the neck.
Hey, Mary.
Yeah?
Will that have to do with obsessive compulsive disorder?
The pinched nerve in the neck?
No, I think the myelin. I think she's asking about the myelin.
Absolutely, that's what causes it. That's what this scenario is here. Obsessive compulsive disorder, where your mind is, can't think of the word, but just keep saying it over and over and over again. You keep thinking about it until you, and have to do it over and over again until finally the brain says, oh, okay, I got the message. Because your brain is not in contact with what you say, hear, or see when it comes to this. It just knows what it knows. So it has to feel it subconsciously through the hand doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that you can see in the iris of the eye is stress. Stress rings remind me of ripples of water. You know how you go to a lake where it's nice and smooth, not rippling, not like the ocean or anything like that, and you drop in a piece of, okay, like a stone, and the water will ripple out. That's what it reminds me of. If the ripples are thick, that means there's current stress. As the stress, you relax a little bit and the stress is starting to be handled, it'll thin out. And you'll see the improved nerve rings. As far as I know, they don't completely go away. I've already seen people's eyes. I said, wow, you had a lot of stress. Okay, oh yeah, but that was like 25, 30 years ago. So it stays a long time, if not forever. And this is what they look like. These are all current stress rings. IPA calls them contraction furrows or anxiety titanic is another thing they call them. I like calling them stress rings because people will know what you're talking about. They'll say, wow, you got a lot of stress rings. They'll say, man, you know it. And they already know what you're talking about. You don't have to translate contraction furrows or anxiety titanic into English. So y'all can see what I'm talking about here?
Oh, yeah.
Since these are so wide, they're current. Now these ones, see how faint these are? That might be an old one right here. Okay. No questions yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Another thing you see is lymph nodes. And they say zone 6 or 7. I've seen them go in pretty far. So I don't go again by the zones. If you look at somebody's eyes and you say, I can't see the lymph nodes, that means there's nothing wrong with the lymph nodes. But if you see them, then that means they're clogged or congested. The more there are, the more congestion there is. But the deeper the color is, the more chronically clogged they are. When you look at this, remember the pigmentation, they can go over the whole eye, like somebody has green eyes because there's a lot of uric acid. Well, uric acid on top of just a regular congested lymph node can make it look yellowish. So you have to separate those two. If you see any of the coloration anywhere else in the body, you have to take into consideration. And chronically or chronically clogged means it's been around for a long time. The only thing about the lymph node is a lot of times they don't even show up in the person's symptoms. So they can have very much lymph nodes the whole way around like this, and you tell them they have lymph nodes, and they'll say, well, I don't feel any. That's because they haven't gotten swollen yet. But it does mean that your lymphatic system has been compromised. Your lymph nodes are mostly in the trunk of your body, and there's hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds of them. I've never found out exactly the number, although I've looked. It just says hundreds, so I don't know if they even really know. So there's hundreds, and it doesn't say thousands, it says hundreds. So think of this, a woman who has breast cancer, they may remove 35 lymph nodes. It's rare for that many, but I have had a few women that tell me they removed that many lymph nodes. And when they do, the lymph fluid fills up in their arms, and their arms get huge. And sometimes they have to wear a sleeve or whatever. There's no reason for this at all. 35 is ridiculous.
Mary,
Yeah?
there are 600 to 700 lymph nodes in the human body.
Oh, 600 to 700?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. Can you email me that? And where you got that from? I appreciate that.
Sure.
So, just think, even if there's 700, if they take 30 some out in this little area, you know it's going to compromise the body's ability to keep this healthy. So you have cancer, and they take out all the things that is going to protect you from cancer out. That just seems so ridiculous to me. Oh, this isn't moving. Crap. This is supposed to be an animation. The lymph nodes do not have a central pump like the heart. A big part of why your blood goes around the body is because of the heart. It squishes the blood and squirts it out, kind of like a turkey baster. Well, your lymph nodes are in between the muscles, so as you walk and move, the lymph nodes can cleanse. If you stay very sedate, and immobile, they can get congested very easily. Other things that congest lymph nodes are heavy proteins, too much protein. Other things would be a very tightly worn bra, that really digs into you and feels uncomfortable whenever you take it off. Bras shouldn't be that tight. They can keep the lymph nodes or the lymphatic fluid from flowing properly, causing them to get congested. Again, this is supposed to be an animation. What happens is this muscle goes this way, and this muscle goes this way. When you're on a trampoline, when you jump up, both of the muscles are up, and then gravity starts pulling down. So this muscle will open up a little bit, and it's like if you open your hand part ways. Let's say you have a turkey baster in the palm of your hand. Walking would be like shaking the turkey baster back and forth to get some of the fluid out, which is helpful. But whenever you're jumping on the trampoline, it's like opening up your hand and then squishing the bulb of the turkey baster. Because as you hit bottom, both these muscles will get swished together, and they smush that lymph node in between. Then when you jump up, the hang time, they separate. So it's like doing a really deep massage to the lymph nodes. I've had people that have had more success in cleaning out their lymph nodes in 6 months doing a trampoline than they do years of taking herbs. Matter of fact, I would have to say probably at least 2/3 of my people don't even ever need to take herbs. They can just use a trampoline, a little mini trampoline. So without the animation, can you understand what I'm talking about? How the lymph nodes are squished and then it's opened and squished and opened when you jump on a trampoline?
Yes.
And you can use a little mini trampoline, and you don't have to jump very high. Just a little health bounce is really all you need.
Okay, Mary.
Yeah?
Ada's saying that she thinks it was last year scientists found the lymphatic system in the brain. They're calling them lymphatic system.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes sense that they'd be everywhere.
Right.
Very cool. So anything like that, if you have the article, I would love to read that. And that's good to know that you have lymph in there. That gives your brain even a better chance of overcoming stuff.
She says she'll send it over to you.
Well, thank you. Okay, so before we took the lymph, let me show you this autonomic nerve wreath. You got a little bit here, but do you see how thin it is here? So this myelin in this eye, especially in this part here and this part here, is desperately thin. And this is very thin too. This is my eye. These are lymph nodes. Now these lymph nodes, some of them look, not that, just this right here. Some of these lymph nodes look yellow, but that's because I have uric acid over the whole eye. So you wouldn't know for sure what color they were because of that. This is a lady that one of my friends worked with. She had lymphoma, which is cancer of the lymph nodes. And you can see her lymph nodes are very clogged. And it's hard to tell if they're yellow. See, here's an orange one here, because she has orange and yellow in the other part of the eye. But you can tell it's very, very clogged. And when I see this, even if you don't know it's lymphoma, I would work as if it was. She knew it was lymphoma because the doctors had treated her for lymphoma. As a matter of fact, she had told us that all this brown came in her eye after she went through chemo.
Mm.
So those are lymph nodes. These two are lymph nodes. Now see, zone 6 and 7 should be out here. But look how far in these lymph nodes are. So if you see them, even these, I would consider that a lymph node. I would consider this a lymph node. And this a lymph node. But those are quite close. If I had just these two and not everything else, I may not suspect it's lymph nodes. But since these other ones are so close, I suspect those are as well. You can get what we call peritoneum lymphoma, which is cancer of the lymph nodes that are not in between the muscle. It is in the lining between your intestines and the muscle wall. That's where my stepfather had his. which when that happens, by the way, is caused by a bacteria. All right. Now there's some little lymph nodes, but look at these two lymph nodes right here. They're probably the most predominant, I would say. And then this tissue around here is weak. And this is one of the super 5. This is in the breast tissue. So when I see this scenario, I'm thinking, uh-oh, the breast tissue is starting to weaken and these lymph nodes are extremely are clogged and extremely active. So I would really, even though this is probably not breast cancer, I think that's the direction this person is heading. And I would probably work with the lymph nodes and the breast tissue quite actively. Okay, you said, do you disagree?
Oh no, I was just humming.
Okay. I thought you were saying you were going to say you thought something else.
No. I just find it interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it before. I know about it. It just, you know how things just kind of hit you? It's like,
Yep.
Yep.
And I've seen this already. We take care of it, and hopefully if you take care of it whenever it's like that, the woman will never end up with breast cancer.
Well, what about your friend that ended up with it after the doctor told him you were crazy? You were a crazy person.
Oh, that's happened a couple times. But yeah, I've already seen it in the eye, even though the person had a mammogram, and more than once. And they'll go and the doctor said, nope, your mammogram's fine. And then I'll tell them, go get an ultrasound. They'll get an ultrasound and the doctors will find it.
And that's why I like thermography for the same reason. Because it can really pick stuff up.
Okay, I'm going to rant a little bit here. Anyone who's here, there's 13 of us here. Anyone who is here, if you can, or if you believe in this, I don't want you to do anything you don't believe in. I contacted Nature Sunshine and I said, what are you doing? Because right now they are asking for donations to help women get mammograms. You going to say something, Victoria?
No, I saw the same thing. I was a little bit tight about that one.
And when I contacted them, they said, well, that was just, we have some people that are doing marketing for us, and they suggest that we do that. And I said, well, you know what? We make fun of people that do mammograms because they're so inaccurate. And they said, well, no one else has complained. So I'm asking you, if you are like me and realize that mammograms are a waste of time, they can do damage to the breast, and they're inaccurate, please contact Nature Sunshine and say, you're making us a laughing stock. If you're going to get someone who does advertising, they should at least know a little bit about health.
That's true.
Yeah, I was really very upset at that. So I gave him not 2 cents worth, probably about a dime worth.
Who do you contact? Because when you talk to just the regular girls or people who answer the phones, they don't know anything.
Well, no, if you call manager services, they do.
Okay. All right.
Do you get to call NSP concierge? Do you have a concierge?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I have no idea. I just
emailed them.
I just asked to call them.
I emailed them, on the website under contact us and said, are you nuts? I called manager services and then I called the concierge.
Okay.
So if you... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just going to say I don't know. I don't usually, I'll call and talk to somebody, and then usually I get the people who you normally answer the phone, and I just ask to talk to somebody else, and I usually get somebody else.
Oh. Well, 1-800-223-8225
Right.
is the manager services. You can call and tell them when things aren't right. And so if you agree with me that mammograms give a false sense of security, and I know many women who's had mammograms year after year after year and get breast cancer anyhow, and like many times I've had them come and I'll see something in their breast and tell them, and the doctor says, no, 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 it's fine. They insist upon an ultrasound, and indeed they have breast cancer. So mammograms are a big joke.
Mm-hmm. It is.
All right, so I'm done with my ranting.
That's okay. I have someone asking something, and then let me just ask Sherry's first because she's talking about this. But so talking about the lymph, so do you take the lymph gland cleanse and all-cell detox through the lymph system? Is that correct?
What I do first is a trampoline. If it's like this, I'd probably do the trampoline. If it's like that, then yes, I may add the lymph gland cleanse and all-cell detox.
Okay.
If it's like that, I definitely would do both.
Okay. Will you repeat that number again? It's 1-800 and it's something 8225.
Yeah, 1-800-223-8225.
Okay. Okay. And someone's asking, how long do you jump on the trampoline?
If you can do it 15 minutes at a clip.
That's hard to do.
It is. So what I did before my dog decided it was his bed, and every time I try to jump on, he knocks me off. And he's a big dog. He weighs 95 pounds, so, you know. But I would put it between where I work and the bathroom. Every time I go to the bathroom first because I'm old and I can't do it before I go to the bathroom, where I'll make a little sprinkler around myself. So I go to the bathroom, and on the way back, I'll jump for 5 minutes. But I do it several times a day.
Yeah. Okay. So then I'm going to go backwards a minute because Diana is asking, I have a hard time telling the difference between the myelin sheathing and yeast. Can you please explain?
I can. This is usually not until Iridology II, but since you ask, I will explain. All right. Do you see how the inside of this autonomic nerve wreath and the outside is on the same plane, like this? So this would be, if you're laying on your back, that'd be the pupil. Here's where the collarette is. So it's all on the same plane. So if you were a little ant and you were walking, you would just walk right across. Now let's go to this place that had the yeast. Now if you were a little ant and you were walking across here, when you hit right here, you would step down. So the fact that zone 1 and zone 2 is sunken in deeper than the rest of the iris, that's what gives you the yeast. So here's your pupil, and the rest of your eye is up. So the pupil and zone 1 and 2 are sunken in. That's a pupil. And then this is out further. Can you see what I'm talking about? And then this part right here, just where I'm making my line, is the autonomic nerve wreath. Just this part right here. Does that help?
Diane, can you talk? Okay, no mic. Okay. She said that you were breaking in and out, and you are. So in the brown eye, so what it looks like is 3D. It looks like there's some depth to that, Diane. When you're looking at the around the bowel, you can see that it looks further behind. And so she's talking about when a little ant, if a little ant came up onto the side, it could actually jump into the pool, and that's what it looks like. It could jump down. Does that make sense? So that's yeast? Yes.
Yes.
Did that help?
Now on my eye, there's a little bit of yeast, because I used to have yeast at one time. So where's my eye? Oh, actually here, this one. That's in a little bit, that's hard to see. Let's see here.
Okay.
It's not in very deep. She's still not sure?
So she's asking, so how is the AMW in the brown eye? That's that ropey thing that you see. It's like a ropey outline, like if you were outlining a picture to color it, that little outline that goes all the way around the bowel, that's the AMW.
It's about the width of this little red dot.
And so the autonomic nerve wreath is what, inside of that is where you would see the bowel and look at the bowel. So she's saying, so in the brown eye, there's both. Well, all eyes,
Yes.
well, I shouldn't say all eyes have an AMW, but yes.
No, this one you see both. You see the ropey thing and it's sunken in. So this person both has a healthy myelin as well as yeast out of control.
She says thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Sherry, you're right. Sherry says you can see the AMW better in a blue eye.
Yes, you can, big time.
Matter
of fact,
so much easier.
That is really the first one I've seen in a long, long time in a brown eye.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited to show y'all. So you've seen a rarity. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, great. So remember, if you don't see the lymph nodes, that means they're okay. And even though IPA says that you see, what they call it, TOFI or something like that, even though they said that you see lymph nodes in a brown eye, I doubt that. Because in 27 years, I have not once seen lymph nodes in a true brown eye. I have a mixed biliary eye, but not a true brown eye. And I've known maybe 2 or 3 people that I've read their eyes, or a couple people, not many, that had true brown eyes that had lymph node problem, cat scratch fever, or some kind of lymph node problem, and it didn't show in the eye. Victoria, have you ever seen lymph nodes in a brown eye?
No, never. I've only seen inflammation and yeast.
Right. So, oh, and by the way, I'm going back to get, I'm certified, I got a 90% on my whole test, but you have to have a 90% on every single part of your, what you call it, every section for my test to be able to teach for IPA, and I'm going to go do that. Mostly I have a problem with terminology, big time terminology, because I never use their terminology. So if I pass that test, I will have to teach the class. And I told him, and I hope they agree with it, I said, I think the first class that I teach, since I'm not really certified to teach, I should be able to not charge. So they're thinking about letting me do my very first one without charging. I will let you know ahead of time, because I have to teach it, and then they're going to sit back and critique me to pass so I can be an instructor. It may be a way for you guys to get it, because if not, they make me charge a lot of money. So keep an eye out for it and don't think, oh, I'll do it the next time, because after that I'll have to charge. Okay? Okay, so, alrighty. Another thing you see on the outside, they call it a cholesterol or sodium ring. I can't remember what they call it now. I'll have to look it up. That's why I'm lousy with terminology. I so suck at terminology. It's called something that has nothing to do with this. Diathesis, I think is what it's called. Is that right, Victoria? I guess she's gone. Anyhow, so you'll see it, and it's really not on the iris. It's really on the cornea. And I'll show you a picture to show you what it looks like there. But it indicates salt is hardening the arteries or cholesterol is lining the arteries. And sometimes, excuse me, it forms right at the outside. Right here.
Mary,
Yeah?
is this the same thing as venous congestion?
This part here is.
Gotcha.
And it means, venous congestion means that there's not enough oxygen getting to the extremities. So that can be because your legs are really, really swollen. It can be because your heart is weak. It can be because you're not getting enough oxygen from your lungs. You can have like COPD. But it means that oxygen is not getting to the cells of the extremities of the body. And it looks like to me like the colored part of the iris is bleeding down. And I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. So what causes this thing to happen is the salt or cholesterol, but it also can be baking soda. People are taking baking soda internally, and that is extremely unwise. My father used to take baking soda for an ulcer he had, and when they tried to correct an aneurysm, remove an aneurysm, even though the aneurysm was only down to his kidney, they had to end up replacing clean down to his knees, the arteries, because they kept on ripping. They were so hard, they were just like leather, and they weren't supple at all. And the doctor said it was because they tested it, they sent it away, they biopsied it, and they gave us a report, and they said what damaged my dad's arteries was baking soda. They actually found components of baking soda in the arteries. So please don't go taking baking soda just because it's the new thing, because it's not good for you. And then inflammation, because your cholesterol wouldn't line the arteries without the inflammation. And sometimes calcium out of solution can do it. If you don't have enough magnesium, calcium deposits can form inside of the artery.
Okay, Mary, can I clarify something?
Uh-huh.
Okay, the sodium ring can go all around the eye, correct?
It can, yes. I just did that to show you, but yes.
That's what I thought. In the venous congestion, this is just for the picture, just to show us how it is, correct?
Right. But it can be the
Okay.
whole way around the eye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I just drew it because it'd be easy. Maybe I should draw two separate eyes. I didn't think of that. But this is what it looks like. This is a cholesterol, lipemic diathesis is what they call it. I just said diathesis. Lipemic diathesis. Again, on here. But it's on the cornea. It's not actually on the iris. So you can see there's brown here, and this is on top. So this is the eye, and this is the iris. Then you have a little domey thing like this. And this is where that stuff forms, in the cornea, not on the actual iris. And here's another one. Very, very congested. Now this is lymph nodes. You can see how this is down right on top of the iris, while this is in the cornea. It's out further. Somebody came to me one time, they had this really thick, and we put them on Megacal. Megacal is a chelator, and it's very slowly, one cell at a time, pulls the excess cholesterol out of your arteries, and your liver filters it out and it dumps it. And when they went to the doctor the first time, the doctor told them it was an old age ring. And when they went to the doctor about a year later, he didn't have that ring anymore. He said to his doctor, he said, I'm a year older and it's gone. Can you explain that? He said the doctor just shook his head and left. Didn't even have an answer for him.
Hey, Mary.
Yeah?
Victoria got kicked off and she can't get back in.
Well, that's no good.
That's what I just thought.
Is she going to keep trying or is she giving up?
Let me text her.
Okay. So can everybody see the difference between lymph and cholesterol? Even though these lymph are together, close together, that's different than this. Okay, I got some yeses. Good. Alrighty.
Okay, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria's still trying to get in, but I think we
Okay.
have a question here, so I'll try to help you out. Talking about the Megachel, I've been taking it, but gives me a rush.
It does if you go slowly. Did you do it the way that I do? I suggest on my website. What you do is, there's two different ways that you can do it. You can do it one in the morning for a week and one in the evening for a week. 2 in the morning for a week, 2 in the evening for a week. 3 in the morning for a week. So I get, wait a minute, 1 in the morning for a week, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening for a week. Then 2 in the morning for a week and 1 in the evening in the week. And then 2 and 2 until you get up to 12 a day. Or if your arteries are really clogged, take your pulse. Take one, take your pulse. If the pulse is going up 10 beats, that means you're having a hard time with it, so take a half a pill. But the reason why you get that rush is because your body's not used to the oxygen going there. So your body is pushing, there's a narrowing like this. Your body is pushing really, really hard to get that blood past there. And once you start cleaning out, the blood's going to go very quickly, and the body hasn't realized that yet. And you do get a rush of blood. I've had people get that they almost feel like they're going to pass out.
Mary,
Yeah?
Ada stepped out a minute and she asked, what is Megachel for?
Megacal is an oral chelator. It helps clean your arteries of cholesterol. It helps clean heavy metals out of the body. I've heard some people, though I haven't tried it personally, that said they have helped get mercury out of autistic children using Megacal. I mean, using a chelator.
Mercy said, I haven't been able to take more than one because it makes me feel awful. I was checking my messages, so I'm sorry if I repeated any of this.
That's okay.
Let's see here.
So let me ask you a question if you don't mind. So you said Mercy said that?
Let me double check. Yes.
Okay. Mercy, are you having 3 bowel movements a day? Because that's going to be very, very important so you don't reabsorb it.
She said no.
Okay. I would work on that
2.
first.
She's having 2.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad. And then I would make sure you're sleeping the whole night through so your liver can clean it out. So how often in a week do you sleep the whole night through?
She said, I do.
Okay. Well, then it's just going to take a while to get used to. So if you can, go down to half a pill. And I've had several people, especially if they have a lot of buildup in their arteries, have to take a half a pill or even a little bit less than a half a pill for a while until they can get used to it.
If anybody has questions in the other room, please put them in the chat box because I can't see the other room. So,
Yeah, so far, no one's asked in the other room.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Mercy said, yeah, I'm going to try it.
And Mercy, when you say you feel awful, what do you feel like? I mean, we're talking about sick in the stomach. We're talking about lightheaded. Or
Hi,
are we?
Mary.
Hey, Mercy, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks. I feel a rush. I feel like I am a high blood pressure patient. So when I take the mega kill, sometimes I have to take an extra pill for my blood pressure because it makes me feel like my blood pressure goes up. And actually, I take my blood pressure every time, so it does makes my blood pressure go higher.
Okay.
So it makes me feel headache and my palpitations go higher and I feel like I can breathe sometimes. So I've been taking one a day, but I had to stop it because it was a little bit too much for me.
Right. And that's what happens.
I have.
I'm sorry, what?
I haven't tried half. So
Okay.
I may try half a day.
You may also want to take some extra potassium with it. But just think about it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was taking the, oh no, potassium. Okay. How about bananas?
I would take parsley instead.
Okay.
You know, if you live in a place you can go out and pick your own bananas, yes. But if they come to you, no.
Okay.
If you get them in a store, then probably not, because they gas most of those. Even the organic they can gas and still call it organic.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But all this pressure is being pushed to get the blood through. And as soon as you do something and open it up a little bit, it's like putting a hole in a dam. So the longer the problem's been there, the more dramatic it's going to do to your body. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people that after they take the Megacale no longer need blood pressure medicine too. The reason why the blood pressure is so high sometimes is to try to get it through the restriction. I mean, there's more than that, reasons than that, but that's a possible scenario. Okay, any other questions?
She said, okay, thank you. And no, we're caught up.
And you can always contact me, Mercy, too, and I can, you know, let me know how you're feeling after doing a half for a couple days. But it sounds like you really, really need it, if that's the reaction you're having. Okay, this is what cholesterol looks like in a blue eye. And this is a little bit just going into the arteries up to the neck. It doesn't go the whole way around. So it can, but it does not have to go the whole way around, although most of the time it does. But you can see this is venous congestion, how this part looks like it's bleeding onto the eye.
So Mary, venous congestion and poor circulation are two different things. Is that correct?
Venous congestion, venous congestion means that blood is not getting to the cells in the extremities the way that it should.
And then it looks like the top left picture. And then the poor circulation is the blue around the eye, correct?
This is built up in the arteries. No, sometimes your heart will
I
compensate
mean,
for it. This is cholesterol.
sorry, I mean, when we get to poor circulation, I'm sorry.
Well, we don't really get to poor circulation. Circulation, it's hard to tell if the venous congestion is coming from poor circulation or it can be coming from the lungs. Let's say this person has COPD or emphysema. Their circulation may be perfect. The blood might be getting there. They might not just be able to hold on to enough oxygen. Or if somebody's anemic. If you're anemic, you can have all the oxygen coming in. The blood can flow to and back from the extremities the way it should, but there's not enough iron to hold on to the oxygen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's not just circulation, although that's the first thing most people think. It's actually a lack of oxygen to the tissue is what you're seeing.
Okay, thank you.
And here's venous congestion right here too.
Okay, that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah.
On the other slide, it looked more fuzzy, and here it's a little bit more blue.
Well, that's only because their eye is blue.
Gotcha. So that is the same.
Yeah.
They're both venous congestion.
Right.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Thank you. But that was good too, what you explained, so thank you.
Now this is tough because a little bit of this is venous congestion and some of it's from the liver. So I was trying, this is the best one I have for a brown eye. But you see a little bit of venous congestion here, but there is brown here, this brown here, and right there is from the liver. So that's not the best picture. It's just I haven't found a better one yet. So remember, when you see the venous congestion, that means that the tissue is not getting oxygen for whatever reason. Now this one is again arcus senilis, which means someone could be becoming senile. You have the buildup in the carotid arteries, the arteries that go up the neck. So there's a lack of circulation there, and it's starting to shrink. But do you see how this is venous congestion? So this part from here to here means that not enough oxygen is getting in the brain. Then the fact that this is like flattening out, instead of going like this, like it should, it's more flat. That means that the brain is shrinking. To build up the shrinkage, you need to add fats. Hemp oil or something like that.
Okay, Mary, in my notes I have take a lot of fatty acids, ginkgo, and CoQ10. Is that correct?
Right. The fatty acids will actually nourish the brain. The ginkgo and hawthorn will open up the blood vessels so more can get in to the brain, more nutrients can get to the brain. And CoQ10 is good for the same reason. But there's something on here I want to show, and I always forget to show it sometimes. Right here is actually on, you can't tell very well, I'm not going to do that. We'll do that when we do Iridology II. Forget it. I don't want to confuse you more. So here is a person that has venous congestion. You can see it all the way around. And it's a really good venous congestion, and they don't have a lot of liver going on. So from here to here is venous congestion, because his eye should be shaped like that, but it's flattening out. From here to here is not the same, because your pupil favors the nose. That's how we know it's the right eye. But from here to here should be exactly the same distance as from here to here. This is a gentleman I was working with. His brain was shrinking. And he went to the doctor after we started working with him. He kept on getting dizzy, really, really dizzy. And his doctor told me it was because of an inner ear problem. And he started getting to the point that he had to hold on to things because he would fall over all the time. It got really, really bad. He could hardly walk. And his daughter sent me this, and I said, oh my goodness, his brain is shrinking. She went back to the doctor, told him what I said. He thought I was nuts. He did, so I have the report here, no. But I do have the report. He tested him, and he said, your dad's brain is shrinking. So this is a picture that I actually see it in the eye, and they picked it up in a medical test. So any questions about that?
No, no questions.
Alrighty. Man, these guys are easy, easy. Okay, then you can see congestion of the skin. I was taught that it means that the skin is not eliminating properly. IPA says that's not true, but that's what I was taught way back. I do know that it means that the skin is clogged, which I don't understand the difference, but you'll see a darker ring on the outside. I see this mostly from people that use like oil of Olay and junk like that on their skin, or teenagers that work like at McDonald's, and I think it's the grease in the air. But that's usually what I find with people like that. My favorite thing is plastic pot scrubbers. And because of Ada, I think it was you, Ada, didn't you? Aren't you the one that sent me all the plastic pot scrubbers?
Yes.
I don't have. I used to always tell people, if you find any, let me know. But she sent me a cute little box with a bunch of them for me. So I have a bunch of them. I have a couple year supply probably because I use them for so long. But this is what I like for a scurf rim. You scrub your skin with a plastic pot scrubber, and it gets rid of all the old stuff, and then your skin can release the toxins. And it makes your skin feel so good. I never have to use lotion on my skin because even though I have a bad thyroid, my skin isn't dry anymore because I'm cleaning all that dead stuff off. And it just makes you feel so much cleaner. I absolutely love bathing with those. And then some people use HSNW, which stands for hair, skin, and nails. And W stands for the guy, Watkins or something like that, who developed this formula. Then what you sometimes see in the eye is called radiofurls. They used to call it radii solaris. But it's dark, toxic troughs throughout the body. Whenever they're dark, that means that there's a lot of toxins in there. After they're cleaned out, the troughs are cleaned out, you'll see where they were faintly, but it will not be real dark anymore. So these are
Mary.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you before we get too far.
No, that's
but
okay.
Just back up a second. So Mercy asked, so for shrinking of the brain, the fatty acids and CoQ10, is that correct?
And I would add ginkgo and hawthorn, as long as you're not on any kind of heart medicine. You cannot give ginkgo to someone who's on Enderol. I'm not Enderol. Yeah, Enderol. I was thinking Adderall. Adderall and Enderol are two different things. So if they are on a vasodilator, you don't want to put them on ginkgo. But yeah, this person, I would suggest ginkgo hawthorn, CoQ10, and then lots of fatty acids. Matter of fact, what I suggest they do, because you do see there's some brown here, and his eye is dark, and there's some yellow in his eye as well. We don't want too much fats going through that liver because you can end up with a fatty liver if he doesn't already have one. So I also suggest that he puts 2 tablespoons of coconut oil on his skin. After he baths, and use a plastic pot scrubber to get all the dead skin off, dry off, and then put all kind of coconut oil on. Not because his skin was dry, but just to try to get some more fats in his body without overwhelming the liver. But this is almost to the point of no return. This poor gentleman had a hard time remembering anything. He was depressed. I mean, he has no autonomic nerve wreath.
She said thank you.
No other questions?
No?
Okay. So these are the scurf rim, which indicates that the skin is congested because the skin is the out part. If there's nothing wrong with the skin, it'll be the same color the whole way out. But when you see a darkish color on the outside, that indicates a scurf rim. And the fact that there's a lot of acid makes it look even more prominent, but this would look darker on the outside even if there wasn't so much acid. Like this eye. There's not much acid in this eye, but look how the scurf rim is darker. So you guys understand this?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're talking about the toxic troughs, and I like to use this example. If you have 2 garbage cans, you have a brand new one that you just bought from the store, and you have one that looks like this, and your kids come run and says, Mom, guess what? There's maggots in our garbage can. Would you suspect it was in this garbage can A, or would you think it would be in garbage can B, the maggots?
B.
Yep. Yes, right. So that's how it is with the body. You will find germs, bacteria, viruses, and parasites in the most toxic part of the body. So whenever you see, where did I put it? Oh, when you see these toxic troughs, these radii furrows, I would suspect maybe there's parasites. You can have parasites without those, and you can have them without parasites, just like you can have maggots without garbage and garbage without maggots, but usually you find them together. And here they are. There's the toxic troughs. Now this one here looks like it's cleaned out a little bit. This one looks like it's more toxic.
Mary, I have a question about them furrows.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just in from the pupil to the autonomic nerve wreath, the lines, and they don't go beyond the autonomic nerve wreath, is it still considered a parasite line?
Well, if you have parasites, it's probably within the intestines. Again, they're not absolutely parasite lines. They're toxic troughs, but it means the toxins are in the intestines.
Okay, so if they're just short lines.
Like this one right here.
Yes.
Because the autonomic nerve wreath goes right here. So that means there are toxins in this person's toxic troughs in his intestines.
So them are still can be considered parasite lines, even though they're shorter lines, correct?
They are still
Does
the
that make
same line. Parasite lines are not really, for one thing, it's illegal to tell someone they have parasite lines because that's diagnosing. So I don't like the word parasite lines. Radii solaris or radial furrows would keep you out of the Hooskow. Okay? But this indicates radii solaris, what they used to call parasite lines that we're not allowed to call them anymore, or radial furrows. And yes, I suspect when this person would do a biocleanse, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't pass parasites.
Okay, thank you.
You really have to watch your wording. You know, I think it's stupid that we can't just call something what it is, but I believe in America and I believe in obeying the law. So I wasn't trying to give you a hard time by not saying they're parasite lines. I can't tell you if the law ever changes, I'll probably call them parasite lines. But since it doesn't, I won't. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Just remember that. Always protect yourselves on how you say things. Okay, the first time I saw something that looked like that, it wasn't this person, it was a gentleman. I thought he had cancer of the brain. I was thinking, how am I going to, you know? And I stood back and I looked at him. He says, "You all right?" And I says, "Yeah, you all right?" He said, "Yeah." I says, "In the brain area?" He says, "Oh, yeah, I had glaucoma." And they took a hunk of my iris out. And that's how you'll know. For one thing, this is shaped like a pie, like a wedge, and it gets gray around it. Someone told me now what they do is they just burrow holes with a laser all over the eye to relieve the pressure. But I wanted you to see what that looked like in case you saw it, because it scared the bejeebers out of me. I thought the guy was a goner for sure. And by the way, my stepfather had glaucoma. It was really high. And we did the E-wash, the EW, the eye wash that Dr. Christopher developed, and we used the drops. That's on my website, tells you how to make the drops. And his pressure went down to normal. And it was normal for a couple years. And then he quit doing it, and he had to start doing medicine. And my mom, because he had a cataract removed, and the doctor said that, he said the eye wash is getting rid of the pressure, but the lens is starting to get discolored from the eye wash. But after you stop it, after a while, it cleans out. But that's the only reason why he stopped. So if someone has glaucoma, there are some things you can do to help protect the health of the eye. Also, I once took a class, and I believe this, that people who have enough pink eye, and I would not purposely try to get pink eye, because I think it's not healthy. I mean, it's silly to get something on purpose. But if you have several cases of pink eye, that cleanses, you know, when you have pink eye, all this pus and all this junk comes out, and they say that's like a cleanse for the eye. And you're much less likely to get glaucoma if you've had your eyes cleansed like that different times in your life. So you kind of take that for what it's worth. There are 4 studies of the eye. There is the iris, iridology, which we learned about the last couple weeks. There's scleroology, which is the white part of the eye. There's time risk, which they just look at the autonomic nerve wreath. And then there's pupil tonus. We're not going to get a lot into pupil tonus stuff like that, but I do want to tell you that if you ever see the pupil very, very large like this, and the person's not taking any kind of medication, that could indicate that they have weak adrenals. If they have one pupil that is large, and one pupil that is small. That could indicate an injury to the eye, or it could also indicate an injury to the brain, like a concussion or a tumor. So if you ever see that the pupils do not react, they stay open like this, or they're uneven, I've already said did you ever have a head injury or whatever? And sometimes when people, oh no, the doctor had to operate on it and that muscle's weak, and he might know what happened. But always keep that in mind. The pupil should only be about 1/4. So the pupil should be about right here, 1/4 the size of the whole iris. So this pupil should be shaped better than that, of course. Should only be about that big with the light in there. So this I would worry about adrenal exhaustion.
Mary,
Yeah?
someone has a question. What do you use for glaucoma? Repeat, please.
It's called EW. And what I would do is I would have them take it internally, 6 to 8 to 12 capsules, all depends how bad the glaucoma is. I would also make an eye wash with it. And on my website, it tells you how to make it. You have to make sure everything's sterile. You can only make it, it only lasts about a week in the refrigerator. You have to keep it in the refrigerator in between application. And what you do is, I would put it in the eye maybe between 5 and 10 times. Again, it all depends how bad the glaucoma is. And what happens is the first day or first 2 days, your eye will feel like it's bruised. And then usually the second or third day when you wake up, it'll look like you have pink eye. You know how your eye is mad together with all that infection? It will pull all that out of the eye, help pull that out of the eye. And that's why you have to make sure everything stays absolutely sterile. You have to sterilize the bottle, the eyedropper. You have to make sure that the eyedropper doesn't touch the eye. You have to keep it sterile because you could have an eye infection and not know it. Got to be really diligent about that. But put it in and it cleans out, and the eye pressure usually goes back down to normal. With it, I like to give liver cleanse formula too, because your eye is only as healthy as your liver is. But if I had glaucoma, that's what I would do. I've also had people use the EW for cataracts. Oh, great. And Sherry just put the link up. Thank you very much, Sherry. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. So you're basically done with all the basics of the iris. If you want to, we can go over, this animation doesn't work. We can go over different things if you want to stick around. How many wants to go and just review a few things? And how many just want to call it a night? I'll let you all decide. So either write night or review. Type it in. There's 12 of you. I'll wait until we get 6 answers.
Review. Review. The rest went tonight. No, I don't know. And I'd like to review, so that's 4.
Okay. All right, then we'll review because we don't have any nights, so. Alrighty, so remember the Super 5. After you look at the eyes, check specifically for the thyroid, the breast, the liver, the pancreas, and the esophagus, because these could be like this, not even a full lesion, just a little bit weak, for them to be worthy of working on. Also, they cannot be found in the early stages in a brown eye. Because a brown eye doesn't have strings. It's like velvet, and you can't see it. So someone could have a thyroid problem and then not show up in the eye, in a brown eye. So that's why I look at the fingernails. Like, say this is your fingernail. You should have a white moon, not quite that big, at the end of every nail. If you don't, then you have a weakness of your thyroid. So that's what you can do for people who have brown eyes. The breast doesn't show. Liver, almost all brown-eyed people have a liver problem of some sort. That is their genetic weakness that's handed down from generation, generation, generation. So in the other ones, you'll just have to ask questions you don't really know in a brown eye, which stinks, but things that should not show in the iris, if you look and say, I can't even see their stomach, well, that means their stomach is normal. Or I can't see anything going on with their circulation. Well, then there's nothing bad going on with their circulation. Or lymph nodes. Although there's an average of 2 stress rings, technically we should not have any stress rings. But you're going to see a lot of stress rings because we live in a life more stressful than was needed, what was expected from our bodies. And then the skin. If you don't see any darkening of the skin, it won't show up. So if you don't see this, that means they're hunky-dory. All right, question time. Which has the stronger constitution, A or B? And if you get it wrong, don't worry about it.
I got a couple A's.
Okay, good. I got to show you something. I had a friend who taught Sunday school, and she taught the little kids the song Silent Night. Did you hear that song, Silent Night? Okay. And there was time left over, so she asked them to draw her a picture. And this one little boy drew a picture that looked like this. And she's thinking, well, that doesn't look like a star. Is it a moon? She wasn't really sure. So the next week, she took the picture. She asked him, she says, explain this picture to me. He said, well, that's from that song you taught us. And she said, well, yeah, explain. She said, well, that's Jesus, and that's Mary, and that's Joseph. And she says, what's this? He says, that's Round John Virgin. Isn't that cute? I think it's adorable.
That's cute.
So it's good to review, and the reason why I ask these questions and why I insist upon someone taking, if they want a certificate in this, because if you guys want a certificate in this, if you pass a test, you're eligible for Iridology I. But I want to make sure you don't have any Round John Virgins. Okay? All right. So which is a true brown eye? A or B?
Got an A, another A.
Good job. What would you say this indicates? Do you have your charts with you? This is a left eye.
Someone said lung.
It's a left eye. I should have told you before. The lung would be over here. So it would be lung if this is a right eye. Any guesses? It's a thyroid.
Lung, we got thyroid. We got 2 thyroids.
Yeah, thyroid. Okay, so This is lacuna B. This is lacuna C. This is lacuna D. Which one of those are a closed lacuna?
Up, C and D, or somebody said C.
Yeah, definitely not B. B is an open lacuna. This one is pretty close. It's really hard to tell. Okay, what are these lines in here? These white lines found in here. What do they indicate?
Someone said healing lines.
Very good. Okay, now this is a left eye. Look on your charts. What do you think this lacuna is at? What body part?
Heart.
Yep, exactly, heart.
Someone else said heart.
Good job. Let's see here. Okay, these two eyes here, this is a left eye. This is a left eye. Where would you say this weakness and this weakness are? Left eye.
Kidney, kidney.
Good job. Which one would you say is genetically weak? A or B? And which one do you think is actually weak?
A. So A is weak and B would be genetically weak. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Good job.
Okay.
All right. Which?
Okay, Mary.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that A to ask why?
Because this is not really a lacuna. The fibers are just weak. This is an actual lacuna.
She said, oh, okay.
They're both in the kidney, but see, this isn't actually a lacuna or lesion, whatever you want to call it. Okay. A, B, C, or D. Where do you think is the most unhealthy part of this bowel?
B, D.
Yep, D definitely, because of the diverticulum. Because remember, any kind of lacuna inside the autonomic nerve wreath is a diverticulum. What does the orange indicate in these eyes?
Someone said acid.
I'm talking just
I
the
see.
orange. Just the orange.
I know, but I'm
I'm
waiting for
sorry.
somebody else to answer. Sorry, Mary.
That's okay. There is some acid in all these eyes right here, the white. I'm talking about the orange.
So we're talking about a chromium. Somebody said iron.
What I say is chromium out of solution or insulin resistance. Not chromium, I mean insulin out of solution. So insulin because of a lack of chromium.
Okay, Mary, can you go back to that picture?
Mm-hmm.
This is a different question, but okay, see on the top right eye,
Yeah?
up by the brain area, would that be venous congestion or poor circulation?
Right here, venous congestion.
Yeah. Okay.
But wait a minute, poor circulation and venous congestion are the same thing.
Okay, that's what I
Except
was.
for not, okay, all poor circulation is venous congestion. But you can have venous congestion and it could be a lack of oxygen too.
Gotcha. Now it's clicking. Thank you for
It's like,
clarifying that for me.
all roses are flowers, but not all flowers are roses.
Okay, I was still confused about that. Um, I wasn't until tonight, and I looked in my book. I had my notes kind of wrong, so thank you for clarifying that.
No problem.
Okay, and then Ada asked, will that orange be pancreas weakness?
Right. Well, pancreas produces insulin. So yes, you can also, they also say that it's a pancreas weakness. Yes,
She said,
absolutely.
thank
But I
thank
like
you.
to, it's not, it is, the pancreas is weak, but let's see, orange indicates pancreas, absolutely, because the pancreas what produces insulin. But sometimes you can have a healthy pancreas, and the reason why you have this insulin is because you're lacking chromium, or sometimes it's because the permeability of the cells can't let the chromium get inside or the insulin get inside. But you're 100% right in that orange is associated with the pancreas because the pancreas produces insulin, and it actually, probably the most accurate way I would say it is insulin resistance. Okay, what's the yellow in this eye? I know there's other colors, but just the yellow. What would that indicate?
Type it in the box, please. Kidney.
Absolutely. What do you call it, or what does it indicate when you have a pupillary rough? This chewing out here.
Burning acid in stomach.
Oh, burnt stomach lining, yeah. Good job.
Bad digestion.
What does the brown mean in these eyes? This brown, this brown, that brown, that brown, that brown.
Liver.
Right,
Someone said liver.
liver toxins. Good job. I just want to show you this. This is someone who has a contact in. So that's what that's for. What do you call, or what do these indicate, these dark lines?
Radiosolaris. Leaky gut. Toxins.
Right, toxic troughs. Toxic troughs. Let's see. Boy, this is a tricky one. Which one of these lymph is most congested? You know what, I'm not even going to ask that.
Someone said bottom right.
Right, because we have an orange right here. Good job. That's very tricky. Good job, good job, good job. But they're all
That is very
congested.
tricky.
This one looks like it's yellow, but it's not. It's just because there's a yellow overlay. Okay, this is from class 1, I think. What are these rings here that look like watch bands? What does that indicate?
No answers yet, but it's bad digestion.
Yep,
Lack of hydrochloric acid.
poor digestion. Good job. Now look at this venous congestion right here. Even down in here. Okay, what does it mean, this darkness around here? Anybody?
I would say a toxic bowel.
Right. Good job. Now this, you don't see the autonomic nerve wreath. You see where it's supposed to be, but see how you still step down here? So whoever was having a hard time seeing the brown eye, you see how you still step down here? That is yeast out of control in there too. Then if you had the autonomic nerve wreath on here, it would look even deeper. But they're two separate things. What are these things that look like ripples of water?
Nerve rings, stress rings.
Good job. Which one do you think has bigger bowel movements, this person or this person? I mean, circumference-wise.
So put L for left and R for right. We got a left.
Yep, good job, left. Alrighty, so that's
I like that reviewing.
Yeah, well, next week, not next week, the week after next week, remember, tomorrow's the last day to send in any eyes, and you can send in whoever eyes you want. And if you don't want to use a real name, you can say Joe Schmo or whatever. You can even invite them to the class so they can answer questions. We can do like a mini consultation for them. But we're going to be doing mock consultations. Also, anyone who's in our group, is everyone here in our Nature Sunshine group?
Got a couple yeses.
Let me put it this way. Is there anybody here not in our Nature Sunshine group? That'd probably be a little easier to say.
Mercy said me. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Sylvia said I'm not.
Okay. Is she the only one?
So far that answered yes.
Okay. Then anyone else, and Sylvia, you have the choice if you want to get in our group, and if you would email Sherry, I'm sure she wouldn't mind. Right, Sherry?
I would love it.
Okay. Or if you don't want to, you don't have to. You're still welcome to come to these classes. But anyone in our group, if you get pictures of people's eyes and you want to do a consultation, you, me, and them online, I do that for people in our group. You're welcome to the classes. You're welcome to getting a certificate, everything else. But if you want me to critique after you, then you got to be in our group. That's something I reserve just for the people in my group. But that really helps a lot. You'd be surprised because you learn all this stuff and you go out and go, okay, I'm going to do it, and you don't feel sure of yourself. And I will do it as long as it takes to make you feel sure. Because ultimately, I would love to see these guys be able to be iridologists. So, Sherry, you and I did a couple times, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She always helped me when I needed her help.
How many times do you think we did it over the years?
Oh, I'm not even sure.
Maybe 30?
More this, well, probably not because I didn't do it the first 2 years too much. More this last year before these classes started. So, but we did a lot, so it really helped me. So.
Okay. Oh, and I see Sylvia is Ada's sister. So yeah, then Sylvia, if you contact Ada, she can tell you how to get into it. Then if you want me to do that for you, I'll do it for you as well. Sorry about that, Ada. I didn't realize. Okay? But you're still in our group. But you don't want to separate sisters because that's just not nice. But if anyone of you guys want to do that, I am willing to do it as long as you need until you feel comfortable. And I've had people do 30, 40, 50 before they feel comfortable. And that's okay. And what you do is you still charge. Yeah?
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. So what you do is you can take pictures of people's eye, charge them, invite them to the consultation, then we'll do the consultation, and then you keep the money. I don't want any of the money. I've never taken any of the money for doing that. but it'll help you get maybe a good scope for your camera. It'll help you start out a little bit like that. And then you'll get used to also, okay, this is what I see in the eye. What herbs do I give? So just remember, I'll do that. I'd love doing that. That's part of me saying, if you're in our group, that's what I owe you. You deserve that. Okay, what are you going to say, Sherry?
Well, first I wanted to say it's nice that you went over the classes with me, because now I will go back sometime to them, and some of my answers I'm like, oh, I know that now. So, yeah, I feel like I've come a long way, so that's great.
You really have.
Mercy, thank you. Mercy wants to know, what are the requirements to get certificates?
Now remember, these are certificates that are not IPA certificates. They're just certificates of completion. What you have to do is email me and I'll send you a test. You take the test, and if you pass it, and Mercy, you're in my group, so I usually charge $60 for a certificate, but I'm giving half off. So you pay $30 for the certificate, which is mostly for the shipping, the paper, the ink, and to get my granddaughter to do it for me. If you don't pass the test, then you and I can sit down one-on-one and go over what you were confused about. And it's an open book test, because basically I just want to make sure that you know where to find the answers. I don't really, it's not to trip you up. It's just to make sure you don't have any round John virgins. Okay. Anything else?
Mercy said, okay, so you'll send the test?
I'll send you a link with the test, and then you can take whatever you want to. And when you hit submit, make sure you hit submit at the bottom, or I don't get it, and everything you filled out will be lost. And then I'll get it probably about an hour after you submit it, and I'll correct it, and then I'll contact you if you get 100 or 90. You have to get at least an 80 to pass. And you can take the test without getting the certificate. If you want to take the test just to see how you're doing, you can do it and just say, I don't want a certificate, but I'd like to take the test. You can do that too.
Ada said she'd like to take it too. When would be a good time to take the test?
Well, if you email me, I'll send you the link, and then you can take it at your leisure. So
Mercy said okay. Ada wants the certificate. Good for you, Ada.
it
Mercy
doesn't look
says
like
awesome.
this one, though. It looks like a different one. This is my professional class. I don't want you to think it looks like that, because that one's a real fancy one. Let me show you what it looks like here. But for some reason, people like certificates when they come see you.
Yes, I have a chiropractor friend that says she can't believe how much I've learned.
Cool.
Yeah, she really likes how you teach the pH rather than how she learned it, so.
So she does pH. That's great. I could try to get my chiropractor to do pH, and he won't. So this is what the certificate looks like this. But it's on certificate paper and stuff.
And you can even put letters behind your name, CI, Certified Iridologist.
Well,
when you're all done.
yeah, I think you're not supposed to do that unless you're with IPA. I don't know. I don't know how that is. The certificate you get is of completion, but people do it afterwards. I just don't know. If you get the certificate, you cannot go to IPA and say, look at this, I'm certified. Because they use all different terminology. It's a whole different ball game. But
I didn't know that.
Yep, it is. But I am developing the class to teach everybody. But you have to know different terminology, you know, like posterior, anterior, all that kind of junk. Let's see what else you need to know. Need to know the parts of the eye. But it's an open book test too. So I am developing it, and it's going to have all the new names. Instead of calling it a blue eye, they call it a lymphatic eye, hematogenic eye for a brown eye. And like I said, as soon as you see, does everyone belong to my Facebook group? Natural Health Professionals. Let me get it down here. Nope. I don't even have it on here, do I? Oh, well. Yeah, I do. Natural Health Professionals, my Facebook group. That's where I'm going to post it if they will let me not charge for the first class. The class where I'm going to be teaching the muckety mucks from IPA are going to come and sit in on the class to make sure that I don't teach any round-jaw virgins. And that one I'm going to try to strongly insist that I don't charge for because I'm not technically IPA certified yet. And I'm hoping they'll let you do it for free. So watch, I will post it in Natural Health Professionals. That's it, nowhere else. So keep an eye out there.
Do you know how long that will be, Mary, till that happens? Like within the month, a couple months?
A couple months. I'm hoping after the holidays because I have to take my test and I have to, you know, you have to get someone to sit in on it like your clergyman or something when you take the test. It's an open book, but somebody has to be there while you take the test. That'll say, yes, I saw she didn't cheat and stuff like that. And it's timed. And I also then am helping Betty Sue O'Brien, who was the president of IPA, to redo her book, which I'm so excited about because IPA's changing a little bit, and it just so happens to be the same way I've been teaching and thinking all along. They haven't changed enough yet to make me really, really happy. So they're making changes. I want to make sure that I wait until all the changes are solidified before I teach it as well. Okie doke. Any other questions?
No, I don't see any, and I hope I didn't miss any.
Well, thank you very much, Sherry, for your help. I appreciate it. Big time.
You're quite welcome.
And thank you all for coming. And remember, if you need me, Mary's Herbs at AOL, just contact me, and I'll help you all I can. Alrighty. Well, good night, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Bye, everybody.